you have to read this book. Your mind is about to be blown. Hi, this is Katie and welcome to my channel Books Katie Likes. Do you know someone that has a fascination with crime and murder? They watch TV shows and they listen to podcasts, and although what they hear is quite horrific, they just have a fascination with it. My fascination is with North Korea. It is the most bizarre country. The leaders violate pretty much every human right someone should have, and it's all happening literally right now. If you don't know much about North Korea, you have to read this book. Your mind is about to be blown. If you do know about North Korea, you still need to read the book because Yeonmi Park, the author, is absolutely incredible. She experiences the most difficult situations, but she's able to overcome them. Today I'm going to be recommending In Order to Live by Yeonmi Park. Let me read the blurb for you. This is the incredible true story of 13-year-old Yeonmi Park, who risked her life when she and her family fled North Korea, revealing what it is like to live under a brutally repressive regime which starved and terrorized its people. Yeonmi tells of her family's courageous decision to escape and the extraordinary, heartbreaking journey that followed, culminating in a daring nighttime trek across the Gobi desert to freedom. This is a story of astonishing endurance, both physical and mental, which has already inspired people all around the world. As the blurb says, she's a young girl when she leaves North Korea, and she has to leave, otherwise she's going to die of starvation. She journeys through China and is able to make it to South Korea, where she's accepted as a citizen. The book starts off a bit slow, but once you get into it, you're not going to want to put this one down. She describes her life in North Korea, which is full of oppression and starvation. And then once she gets to China, her life is also full of difficulties. Then when she gets to South Korea, her whole way of thinking needs to be changed because she's told that everything she's been taught her entire life is a lie. And as you can imagine, that brings on a whole new set of challenges. The things she experiences are quite traumatizing, but I don't want that to stop you from reading the book. Yes, it is an intense book and you probably should have a box of tissues ready because you are going to cry, but this woman is simply incredible and she's going to inspire you. As I've said before, the repressive regime in North Korea is happening literally right now. She escaped in 2007 and was born in 1993, so she's the exact same age as me. So while she weighed 30 kilos and was fleeing for her life, this was me. Australian teenager, don't know how much I weighed, but it was probably almost double what she weighed. I like wearing colourful jeans, I like wearing odd socks, and I would dye my hair at home as sort of ombre before it was cool. Apart from Yeonmi being an absolute badass, what makes this book really interesting is that she explains how North Koreans are brainwashed and the belief systems that are integrated to their minds their whole lives. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil the book, but it was so difficult to decide which passage to read, you guys, because there are so many good ones. But I thought this one is quite good because it doesn't give too much away, but it does give a little bit of a glimpse into her life. But the movie that changed my life was Titanic. It amazed me that it was a story that took place 100 years ago. Those people living in 1912 had better technology than most North Koreans. But mostly what I couldn't believe is how someone could make such a movie out of such a shameful love story. In North Korea, the filmmakers would have been executed. No real human stories were allowed, nothing but propaganda about the leader. But in the Titanic, the characters talked about love and humanity. I was amazed that Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet were able to die for love, not just the regime as we were. The idea that people could choose their own destinies fascinated me. This pirated Hollywood movie gave me my first small taste of freedom. What stood out to me when reading this book is how educational it was and how you learn so much about history and what Yeonmi was taught to believe in North Korea through propaganda versus the actual historical events. My final thought to give you is something that I think is important for all of us as humans to understand. Obviously, I'm not a politician and I don't have control over where refugees end up, but I want to say this because I think there needs to be a shift in all of our mindsets when welcoming refugees into our countries. You can clearly see life was very horrific for Yeonmi and her family when she's in North Korea. Then when she's a refugee in China, her life is still pretty bad. And then when she gets to South Korea as an asylum seeker, her life is still full of struggles. When someone is a refugee or an asylum seeker, it is not their fault. They would probably prefer to stay in their own country, speaking their own language with their family. But for Yeonmi and so many others, if she had stayed in her own country, she would have died. So she had to leave. I think it's important to keep that in mind when we have refugees and asylum seekers in our own countries. We need to treat these people with the love and the respect that every human being deserves. Thank you for taking the time to watch this recommendation of In Order to Live by Yeonmi Park. I hope you feel inspired to read it.